Hey everybody, this is Noah James Hittner with The Arc of Music. You can find us online at thearcofmusic.com. That's the ARK of music.com, where we discover and share the best music in the world you never knew existed. There you can subscribe to our free Music Discovery e-newsletter, which is how we regularly deliver new music and interviews just like this one to your inbox for free. Today, as always, we're recording in Madison, Wisconsin, and joining us on the phone from Davis, California, are the founding members and core creative intelligence behind the Americana-Pop band To Bazooka. It's Richard Urbino and René Martucci. How's it going, guys?
Very good.
Fine.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. First piece of business is the name of the band. There's got to be a funny story there. I know it has to do with bubblegum.
It doesn't.
Okay.
What does it have to do with, Richard?
It has to do with accordion and a bouzouki.
Oh, okay.
That's how it started. And I'm still playing accordion. Richard switched off of the bouzouki, though.
Yeah, it's a guitar.
Gotcha.
But,
okay.
But it just fits as accordion and a bouzouki, and then it morphed, and then it became accordion to bazooka, and then the bazooka imagery came in.
Sure.
And so then there's the sort of the bubblegum idea, and which seems to work. That works fine too.
Right. I like it. It's like it's like a philosophy almost.
Yeah, like I think that the bubblegum used to have a fortune on it.
Right. Awesome.
So that you could open it up and get your fortune. So then that ties into According to Bazooka.
Sure. Well, let's back up a bit. First of all, where are you from individually? And I kind of wanted to get an idea of how the music bug hit each one of you first and foremost. And then I wanted to know, what was the kismet moment? How did the fateful meeting happen when According to Bazooka was formed? Because there's clearly some musical chemistry here. We need to dissect this.
Yeah, I was writing songs. In my life, there's been sort of waves of songwriting, and there was some waves of songwriting in the 80s, and there was waves of songwriting in the 90s, and then waves of songwriting in the current form. So
let's go back even further than that. What was the germ that made it happen that music was going to be your life? Was it a family member? Was it a song?
Beatles, I think.
That did it for me, too.
Well, that doesn't surprise me because when I was writing a review, I did mention the Beatles. I heard some influence in there, so I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah, the wave of guitar, the guitar wave.
Sure.
That came with that.
Okay, so the guitar was your first instrument.
Actually, the clarinet was my first instrument.
Oh, very nice. Okay.
And then it was the baritone, and then it was the sousaphone.
Okay.
And then it was the guitar.
Sure.
And René?
And for me, it was piano, and I switched off to guitar later. Now, on the album, According to Bazooka, I play accordion and keyboards, but I'm also a guitar player.
Right. So what ages, respectively? When were you guys picking up René, the piano, and Richard, the guitar, respectively?
I was, right around 5 when I announced that I wanted a piano.
Oh, wow.
So,
and when did you get one?
Then, everybody,
right
even back then, people want to give away old uprights and things. They don't know what to do with these big pianos. So it was, my parents rounded one up and brought it home, and that was my first instrument I started playing.
Very nice.
I think I was about 12.
Okay.
Which I guess is pretty typical.
Yeah. So since you're both guitar players, I always like to find out, what was your first guitar? What kind was it? Do you still have it? Do you still play it?
My first guitar was a Japanese Kingston.
Okay.
Which, I just went into the store with stars in my eyes and
of course,
just picked something shiny.
Yeah.
I didn't get mine from a store. Mine probably came from a thrift store or a garage sale, and it was a nothing special at all, just something. All I wanted was a guitar, and I rented one for a while from a music store because I wanted an electric guitar and a little amp, and every time I tried to play it, I would get a little shock from it.
Okay.
That's what I remember about that guitar.
Now, do either one of you still have those guitars?
No, I sold mine back in high school.
Yeah.
That original guitar.
Yeah.
Right.
We have a lot of guitars, but not the original
yeah.
Kingston.
Sure. And my first good guitar was a Fender Jaguar, which I don't have anymore.
Okay.
But,
Yeah. Once you realize that cheap guitars are hard to play, it's hard to go back to them.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. The second one was a Fender Mustang, so
sure.
That was way better. At least at the time, it was way better.
Right on. Renee, you mentioned you've been playing the keys for the better part of your life, and then there was a switch over to the accordion not so long ago. What inspired that? What made that happen? I love the accordion. I think it's so underrated and underused.
Well, I was looking for a portable keyboard.
Okay.
That's what got the little idea started, and I didn't just want any accordion. I wanted a little small accordion,
Mm-hmm.
And we had some kind of coffee house shows that we were doing, and we wanted this littler act. And I went searching all around. I finally found my first favorite accordion in Kauai.
Okay.
At a music store that had been damaged by the hurricane that had come through, like early 90s, I think. Sure. And we walked into this music store, and there was all these beloved instruments like guitars and drums and things that had, I guess, a lot of the music store had been damaged in the hurricane. But this little Hohner accordion was perfectly fine. They probably thought no one was ever going to come by and want it. And then I came along and went, oh, that's just what I wanted. So that was my accordion for years, and I just replaced it with another Hohner maybe a year ago, just over a year ago. And it's now my new favorite.
But she doesn't play the accordion like an accordion.
I didn't grow up playing accordion, so I think about it a little bit differently.
Okay.
I started on piano, and then I switched over to like a synthesizer and like a portable organ.
Sure.
And that kind of thing. Richard and I were playing in a cover band together and doing a lot of cover songs at that time.
So how is your playing style different? What is it? What's your approach?
I sort of think of it kind of like a B3 or something. I think of it like a little mini, rock and roll organ that I'm taking around with me.
Sure.
And since then that's the way I started, and I still kind of think of it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a lot more fun. There's a whole, holding this instrument that you kind of rock back and forth with it, and, and the whole physical and visual of it, I just love. And of course, the sound.
Very nice. Richard, you play harmonica.
A little
bit. How long have you been playing, and do you have any tips? Because I literally just started about a week ago.
The harmonica. Well, there's sort of the shotgun approach, which I think of sort of a Bob Dylan, Neil Young kind of approach, which is you're generally in the key.
Right.
Like if you're playing the key of G, you play a G harmonica, and you kind of shotgun around the harmonica, and if your chords are all in the key of G, then it should sound fairly decent.
Right.
Now, if you want it to sound, if you're going to play blues, then you use the fourth. So if you're playing in the key of G, you got to have a C harmonica.
Right.
And then all the notes shift, and you can do blues stuff. And of course, the trick is the bending. If you're going to bend notes, then you got to work on that a little bit.
Right. Yeah, I have a long way to go.
Well, the accordion has the same sort of technology, right, as the harmonica, if you want to try that out, too.
Sure.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the new album. It's called Where We Are Now. It's your second album, which is a follow-up to 2015's Easy Come, Easy Go, which when I listened to Easy Come, Easy Go, I sort of thought it had this Americana, almost Cajun-esque Americana feel. And it really just featured the two of you guys, correct?
Yeah.
Whereas Where We Are Now has a full band sound with far more tones and different vibes. I thought this new album was all over the place, and I love that kind of thing. Pop, rock, blues. There's a little bit of jazz. And I don't know if you guys are into trip hop, but you guys have some trip hop stuff going on in your music too, which I think is wild. And I wanted to know, was the evolution of this sound a conscious thing, or is this just something that's happened organically with the addition of more players?
Well, the first album, we were playing as a duo, and we went into the studio in Foxtail Studio in Dixon, and just recorded pretty much what we sounded like. And then when the second album came along, I'd been listening to a lot of local musicians and their albums, and there was one particular one I really liked, Natalie Cortez, and her band, the Ultraviolets, which she released a while back. Okay. And we decided we wanted to go with a producer, and I asked her who her producer was, and that was David Houston out of Sacramento in the studio. And it was going into the studio and having the producer, having that other, perspective on things that helped us, feel free. I just said, feel free to whatever you imagine, and let's start doing it. So we added more instruments, and then as we were working on it, we brought in more musicians as well to the band. So the album working on the album helped evolve our sound some more.
Well, I'm not just blowing sunshine your way. It's a really unique sound. Your vocals, Renee, reminded me of the group called More Chiba, and Sky Edwards, I believe, is her name. And your voice reminds me a lot of her. And anyway, it's just really cool stuff.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you.
We'll have to check them out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they're super cool. So because this album is so delightfully all over the place, I was wondering if you could sort of, respectively, both of you, each of you, describe what it sort of means to you. What is your take? What do you think it sounds like? What do you think you have done? And I suspect you each think you've done something different. I guess that's what I'm prying for.
Okay. Richard, would you like to start?
In terms of the songwriting, it's just whatever sort of strikes me as being interesting, and everything is interesting and everything isn't interesting all at the same time. So I just have to sort of my muse is taking a shower. So
okay,
when I get in there, ideas come to me that don't come to me anywhere else.
Nice. Okay. I respect that.
Unfortunately, I waste a lot of water that way because I sit there imagining things.
Sure.
And so the thing is that the sound is just whatever happens to strike me. And then sometimes I present the idea to Renee and say, what do you think of this? And it's like, yeah, okay. Because I'm just all over the place in terms of what just happens to strike me as being interesting. Mm-hmm. That's where, in terms of I'm looking at the songs that are on there, and Victim of Circumstance, and Too Busy. I mean, some of these, Too Busy is written from a conversation we had with somebody. And Surprise just came to me one day. I remember going down to an Oddfellows hall, and I was excitedly singing the chorus because here's something I just wrote. You got to hear this, and probably nobody cares what I'm. Who is this guy? What is he trying to tell me? This chorus he's got, or these different songs have these different takes. They're just kind of all the same, and yet all very different.
Right.
And we're both artists as well, visual artists beyond musicians. And I mean, for me, if I'm doing a sculpture, there's a certain amount of conversation that's going on. I think that happens with our music too. we're fine with starting with an idea. Like Richard mentioned, Victim of Circumstance. It's an oddball little song. But we just start working on it. We start seeing what's happening, and we're not necessarily trying to fit it into a genre.
Sure.
But we're definitely, influenced by kind of this 60s pop rock. I think that comes in our songwriting sort of style. We like these catchy choruses and this melody that comes into it. And then
melody is the big thing.
I think, melody definitely. And distilling, our ideas come from just day to day and conversations with people and whatever.
Sure.
We're happy to, maybe we're frustrated about something, or we just kind of get it out in music. But I think that 60s pop sound comes in a lot. And
but lyrically, we have a certain thing too. There's kind of a playfulness. I don't know. I don't want to make. None of the lyrics are supposed to be taken like extremely seriously.
Sure.
Well, I think my part. It's funny because when we were in the studio recording with the producer David, we were doing one song where he said, the verse goes one way and the chorus comes in, and it's a different mood. And he was talking about. I was surprised. It was interesting because Richard and I wrote that song together, and we wrote different parts of the song. And I thought he didn't know that, but he actually was picking out our different styles in that one particular song, which just impressed me right away with how perceptive he was. I think my influence might be a little more introverted, a little more folky sounding, and Richard brings it out a little more extroverted and a little more of that lighthearted look at things.
I would agree with all of that, and where it meets in the middle is very unique, and it's very pleasant.
Yeah, and we and of course we always run into the problem when people ask us, so what kind of music do you do? It's like, I don't know.
But that's okay these days, though. That's actually okay because genres are sort of going away. They just are.
Yeah, it's pretty tough to put it in for any musician, it's tough to put your own music into a category. It's really, and with art too, it's like, it's not really our job to define it. It's someone else is supposed to help us out with that.
Right.
But, I usually, bring in the folk element, even though it's not at all like a traditional folk song or anything, but it's that, I guess, strummy guitar and the idea of using the accordion. And in our live version now, we've added upright bass. And
very nice.
And the presentation has kind of the Americana folk aspect to it.
Sure.
It definitely needs to be pop and rock in the description as well, from my perspective.
Sacramento has this category, and one of their things is a folk bluegrass band, which is hilarious.
Well, we just got nominated for a folk/bluegrass category for our band for a Sacramento Area Music Award.
Wow. And
that just makes the rest of the band laugh. And I say, well, because they're thinking of traditional folk music and traditional bluegrass music, but I agree with you, people aren't really doing that. They're coming with all different descriptions for what their music is, and it doesn't fit into the old genres.
When artists submit to us for reviews, and you've been through this process, we ask, please try to narrow it down to 4 genres.
Yes,
exactly.
So, but that's cool.
In the future, somebody will say, "Yeah, that band they really remind me of According to Bazooka."
Yeah, right. Exactly.
They got that According to Bazooka thing going.
That's right.
Whatever that is.
So, Renee, as you were talking a minute ago, I realized I think I cut you guys off when I asked earlier how you met. How did you two actually come together and form? When was that, and how was that? We didn't go over that, did we?
No, we you were saying, where are we from, how do we meet, and all that. And I grew up in California and have lived most of my life, right outside Sacramento. And I met Richard through friends, and I took lessons from him, and I used to go see his old band play. And we got together initially and started playing in a cover band together. And we would try and bring in our original songs into that situation. And it just seemed to us at some point that you really have to separate the two completely. I mean, I still bring in our original songs. If we ever play with the cover band, I can bring them in, but it's got to really be separated so people accept that we're doing our original songs. So we just started this idea. I knew I wanted to play accordion. I knew I wanted Richard to play guitar because he also was a fantastic bass player, but I wanted him to play guitar and us to do completely our own songs with no cover songs at all.
Right.
And so that just became this project in 2013, and a couple of years later, if I'm thinking about that right, we released that first album. But basically that was the concept, just all original songs with a little different spin on it, the guitar accordion idea, and like I said, initially Richard was playing bouzouki, which we have a little bit of in the first album.
We played, we knew each other before, and then we played music together in a band. And she was brought on because it was a three-piece guitar, bass, and drums, and Renee was the utility person. She's like, well, if you get Renee, she can sing, and she could play guitar, and she could play keyboards. So Renee is like the perfect person to join a band.
Absolutely. You got to have one of those. Yeah. You got to have one.
I don't complain. I'm willing to do any instrument.
Sure.
I played bass in a band once too, just to get in.
Right on. Perfect. So let's say, according to Bazooka's musical endeavor explodes in the best of ways at some point in time in the future. What does that look like to you individually? What does that mean to you? What would that hypothetically look like in actuality?
Well, if things evolve, it's just playing more high-profile gigs and playing the music to people that haven't heard you, and hopefully getting paid for it.
Right. Of course.
Right. It's money too, but yeah, just we already have enough songs for the next album. We're just this is what we love to do. We just write music. We want to go out and perform it. We perform it just any sort of situation, but we're out there. I've got some festivals lined up, and that's a fun one to go out and perform for. And then a lot of the musicians I know are going around doing house concerts, which is kind of a nice, intimate listening audience to present your music to. So I'm including that into our schedule.
Is there a little tour to support the new album that's gonna happen? Well, if we win the Tiny Desk contest,
we just entered the that's right. We just entered the Tiny Desk concert.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Which I know is extreme competition, but we got a really good song that I just love, and we're going to go in this coming weekend to record it and start working towards the next album. And I think that it's been really well received, and I think that could happen. Either supporting, we're doing a small, nearby concerts and things for the latest album, and I'm hoping to expand that out. And in the meantime, we're working on getting started on the third album.
Awesome. It never stops.
Yeah.
Yes, it never does.
It's the beauty of it all. So, this has been great. I'm going to kind of end things here with our little desert island. We got 3 desert island questions. So the idea is, if you're on a desert island, you have to make these choices. First of all, what is your favorite album of all time? So if you were on a deserted island, you could only listen to one album for the rest of your life. What would it be? And you have to choose. I've had people who do written interviews, and God bless them. I know it's a hard choice, but they've actually answered, I can't choose, and we can't have that. We can't have that.
Okay. I don't know. I'd probably just say something Beatles.
And which one, Richard?
Sergeant Pepper or something.
Okay.
Something obvious.
See, I'm going to go pre-Sergeant Pepper and go with Revolver.
Yeah, she'd go Revolver.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Next one's a little harder. Favorite song of all time. So if you're on a deserted island and you can only listen to one song for the rest of your life, what would that song be?
One for the rest of your life? That sounds like not a pleasant experience. It'd be just a hell.
Not really, because I know when I go and work on art, I listen to music, and I listen to the same
Sure.
set of music over and over again.
Well, interestingly, when I ask this question, usually the person's favorite song is not on their favorite album. I always think that's really interesting. That
is interesting because that's almost where I'm going too, because I know I love that whole album, but if I was only going to pick one song, would it be that album? Right. Yeah, that's a tough one.
All right, the current answer will be Blues is King by Marshall Crenshaw.
Okay.
By Marshall Crenshaw. So I'm going to pick, just because it was on my mind, Hide Your Love Away by the Beatles.
Okay. Very nice.
And also, yeah, they've got a lot of albums that I would listen to over and over again, but since I only could choose one, I did Revolver.
I could sing Me Spanish Techno by New
I know,
New
that came into my head, too. That's one of the ones I listen to in my art studio over and over again.
Last question. You get to collaborate with anyone, dead or alive. Who would it be?
Oh, boy, we're going to give the same answer on this one, I bet. Go, Richard, go.
Pete Anderson.
Yeah, that's mine, too.
Who is it?
Pete Anderson.
Okay.
He's a fantastic guitar player, producer, Little Dog Records in Southern California, and part of Dwight Yoakam's backup band. And we've seen him play a couple of times, and huge fans of his.
Awesome. Well, hey, guys, thank you very much for taking the time today.
Hey.
Thank you.
It's always interesting to get a different perspective.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Wish you the best of luck with the album and the future music, and hopefully we can stay in touch.
All right.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
And that'll do it for us today. Thank you so much to Richard Urbino and René Martucci of To Bazooka for joining us. The name of the new album is Where We Are Now. Please go to thearcofmusic.com and check out the album. There you'll find all the links you need to listen, watch, stream, and download Where We Are Now. And thanks also to all of you out there for listening. Please don't forget to sign up for our free Music Discovery e-newsletter. And just a quick reminder to all of you hardworking musicians out there, if you're looking to have your album or single reviewed on the Arc of Music, simply visit us at guaranteedmusicreview.com, where you can order a professional, timely review and interview. Until next time, all the best to all of you. Take care.
Ain't nobody